So over the years, we've seen a number of patterns evolve within our customers on their projects. And coming out of that, there's really some very common best practices we see that our most successful customers always follow. So let's talk about measurement in the context of showing the value of an MDM program. And it's interesting, if you go talk to some of the analysts out there, and we're doing some of our own surveys, a very small minority of organizations that go down the path of implementing a data management program actually bother to say up front what is success and how can we measure it, right? What are the metrics we could use that if we change this metric from X to Y, we will deem that successful. So, and then the challenge, and if you don't do that up front, it becomes more of a, you're looking sort of like scientific best practices, right? Which is before you do the experiment, set up what you're going to measure, and then when you come on the back end of it, see what the results are. If you wait to the end, what you wind up doing is you're looking for positive benefits, and you might wind up contriving things that maybe weren't there. So the best practice is to agree up front across all the stakeholders what is success and how can we measure it. And we get to the end of the project, measure it, and then no one can debate whether or not, hopefully the results are positive, but no one can debate that, hey, we didn't think that's a valuable measurement for us.
Well, it also helps you focus, right? Because if you know what you're going to measure in the end, you know how to focus that business problem in the consulting to solve that problem. And also, if later on, especially if you're doing a phased approach, you find that there's other places where this technology is going to help you and there's other measurements you can do, you can add those measurements in. It's not like we're saying that, but yeah, you don't want to justify the project at the end with measurements you didn't come up with before you implemented something. Whether it's the second or third phase, it's fine, but I think you really want to focus on those business problems early and then know what measurement of success is.
Yeah, and I would argue that if you're struggling coming up with something to measure, you probably haven't found some good business challenges that you're trying to address, because every business challenge should bring with it, some metric around either revenue or costs or your ability to mitigate some aspect of risk.
Yeah. The other aspect I think that's important is we all strive to be data driven and to make better decisions. If you aren't actually capturing measures and you haven't agreed on what those measures are, then you can't learn from your mistakes. You can't repeat the successes because you don't know what it was that went into that success. Mm-hmm. So I think that if you can, in every project, there should be, as you said, an agreement up front as to what are those metrics. But you also need a bit of effort put aside to allow you to actually capture the data. And then at the end, you can actually talk about, well, this is where it's a course correction. Mm-hmm. We made a change, we improved the process, we reduced our costs, maybe cash flow is easier to collect. Ultimately, you've got to have those measures, just like you do in every other process that you have inside your organization. Nobody has a sales organization, certainly not a large one, and maybe not a successful one if they aren't actually measuring the productivity of those individuals. It's true in all areas of the business. And in our case, what we're often involved with is these projects are business critical. We're talking about product data, employee data, customer data, the assets of the organization. We should understand how well they're performing for us.
Yep, absolutely. So to summarize, as far as measurement goes, the best practices first, make sure you have something you can measure. Ideally, agree on that up front before you go implement your project. Then obviously coming out the back end, you're able to use that to help justify and prove the value of the program. And then in having those measurements, you can obviously, over time, show trends in the program. And it could be that the value you expected isn't there, but now at least you know that. You can figure out why. Is it a challenge around data stewardship? Are we not leveraging the data as well as we expected to be? But by having that measurement, it gives you some ability to say, hey, are we hitting our mark or not?
That's right. Lots of measurements help you define where the problems lie in your process. Yep.